At Granger, we're for the ones who specialize in saving the day and for the ones who've mastered the art of keeping business moving. We offer industrial-grade supplies for every industry with same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders, all backed by real people ready to help. So you can get the right answers and products right when you need them. Call, clickgranger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi everyone, host Briana Whitney here. We decided to release another podcast episode this week, focusing on the search for 24-year-old Daniel Robinson, a geologist who went missing in Buckeye, Arizona on June 23rd and hasn't been seen or heard from again. His dad, David Robinson, has been tirelessly looking for his son ever since. Daniel's case has gained national attention in the wake of Gabby Petito's disappearance. Today, Buckeye police released 54 pages of their unfinished police report into the case as the search continues. We are including some of the new, crucial details we've learned in that report. At the same time, we sat down with Daniel's dad today to have a deep, one-on-one conversation about Daniel's past, the oddities in his disappearance, and how the public can help find his son.
I'm David Robinson. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. My son, Daniel Robinson, geologist Daniel Robinson, is also from Columbia, South Carolina. I'm out here in search of my son and to get answers to his disappearance.
So I think to start, can you give us details about Daniel's childhood, how he grew up, what he's like, and how he ended up in Arizona?
Well, Daniel, he grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. His mother and myself, at the time we were married. Daniel, he's the youngest of his siblings. And Daniel, from childhood, he always felt like he had to challenge his siblings. I think that's probably similar to everyone that's the youngest. And Daniel, of course, he's been born with one hand. So, at times, of course, we offered the prosthetics and things like that. But we quickly learned that Daniel was a guy that didn't want the prosthetics. He wanted to challenge everything. He wanted to do things his way. And, of course, like I said, he's always challenged his siblings, whether it's the video games, whether it's academics and things like that. He always wanted to be on top. That became evident when Daniel, as he got older in high school, in junior high school, he learned how to play the French horn. He taught himself how to play the trombone. He actually played football. And, he didn't back down for any challenges.
So his disability didn't keep him from doing all these different things. He was a go-getter.
That's right. And he made a way. Once he got to college, he decided on a career. He always take advisement from either myself or his mother, and on his career choice and things like that. Ask a lot of questions. He's very ask a lot of questions all the time. Very inquisitive.
Kind of curious.
Yes, very much so. And he decided he wanted to be a geologist. That was his set of his goals, and he went after it. He graduated top in his class. Not top in his class, but honors.
And where did he go to college?
The College of Charleston.
Charleston.
Yes, in Charleston, South Carolina.
So how did he come out to Arizona to do geology after that?
Well, he took a class out here upon his graduation. I really don't understand, but he took a class after the graduation for his diploma, for his degree, and he was in Tucson. Mind you, Daniel is a guy that has lots of friends. He had one best friend in college in particular. His parents owned a company here in Phoenix that he ended up working for called Matrix New World, or some people call it Matrix Southwest Groundwater. So he got hired straight on out of the class. So he left Tucson and came straight to Phoenix, straight out of college, and landed his first job as a field geologist.
What did he tell you about the job? Was he enjoying it? Did he like Arizona? I mean, how often did you did you talk to Daniel while he was working?
Yes. Daniel, he loved his job because, again, an opportunity to do the things he loved, be around the rocks and stuff. I don't understand geology that much, but I do know now, in the search for Daniel, I spoke to other geologists, and that's what they said. That's a geologist thing. We like to collect rocks, So he's was able to do that. But with his job, he called me all the time. We'll sit while he's at work, and we'll talk for hours. Even off his job, we'll talk for hours. My son and I at least have a 2-hour conversation every time we talk. We talk probably once every 3 to 4 days, and keep in contact.
Very close,
Very
you and your
close,
son.
Yes.
When was the last time you talked to him before he went missing in June?
It was 2 days before he went missing. We had, of course, like I said, a 2-hour conversation. That conversation was a little different. He was interested in someone, I guess, and he wanted to know what love was all about and how do you know you love a girl or how much you know you like it. He didn't have a real girlfriend at the time, and I think he was interested in someone, and he wanted a girlfriend. So, of course, he's going to ask his dad questions like that, and,
Sure.
I gave him all the advice I can give him. And, we have our regular conversation on everything else.
Did anything seem out of the ordinary there? I mean, talking about love is one thing, but did he seem off? Were there any concerns? Was he worried about anything?
Not that I could pick up. In fact, we had made plans. I was supposed to come out here in July.
This is where we want to bring back in new details in the police report. According to that report, the woman's name Daniel was referencing is Caitlin. Police made contact with her to ask questions about Daniel. Caitlin tells detectives on June 12th she and her friend ordered food through the service Instacart. Daniel ended up being the Instacart employee who delivered their food that night. They didn't know him prior to meeting him then. Caitlin told officers Daniel was very nice and she and her friend invited him to hang out with them. She admitted they were drunk. Caitlin said she and Daniel exchanged phone numbers that night, and she sent him a podcast he should listen to. She said at the time she didn't think anything was abnormal. Caitlin said a few days later, Daniel sent her a text that he accidentally left a canopy there and asked if he could come by to get it, which she said he could. Caitlin says the next text, when Daniel asked for directions, she didn't respond to because she was out of town at the time, but told officers she saw on her security camera Daniel come up to her door, attempt to contact her, and then leave. She told officers that made her uncomfortable, that Daniel just showed up, even though she hadn't given him her address or directions yet. She told Daniel when she got back in town they would make arrangements to meet up so he could get the canopy. She then told officers that's when Daniel started to get, quote, creepy over text. She provided that text conversation to officers. According to the report, Daniel sent her a red heart emoji and then told her that he loved her. She asked him to please stop showing up to her house unannounced, to which Daniel says okay and that he already grabbed the canopy. He then tells her he couldn't stop thinking about her and asks to hang out. Caitlin says she's not home, and he keeps asking her if she's home, telling her he loves her. Caitlin tells him again she feels uncomfortable that he was showing up at the house and told Daniel she doesn't see them hanging out anytime soon. The next day, Daniel sends a text that he's outside of her house. Caitlin asks him to please stop doing that and that it's not okay. She tells him this is unacceptable. Daniel asks if she hates him, to which she responds, "I don't hate you, but please leave me alone." The last text message Daniel sends to Caitlin is on June 22nd that says, "The world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can or we can, whatever, to name it. I'll either see you again or never see you again." The next day, Daniel went missing. When do you get a call that Daniel's nowhere to be seen or found?
Right on June 23rd. My daughter, she lives here in Phoenix also. It's sibling, one of the twins. And she called me to tell me that Daniel, a coworker, came to the house and was inquiring where Daniel was located. Said he left the job and they didn't know where he was located and they was looking for him. That was our first indication that something was wrong. At the time, I didn't panic, anything like that. I just kind of quit, trying to figure out what was going on. So, of course, the first thing I'm telling my daughter is, hey, let's go to his house over there, check his house, call his friends and see, Daniel's going to call. In my mind, he's going to call and tell us what's going on.
He always calls.
He always do. He always calls. So that wasn't a big worry in my mind until, it's a bit time difference from here in Arizona. So I'm looking at the time, and I know it's a 3-hour delay. And looking at it, wait a minute, that mean that it came to a point of time where it was like 6 hours since I heard anything. We all heard anything from Daniel because we look at the time that he was last seen. That's around 9 o'clock that morning here. And that's not like Daniel. So that's when I started getting worried, I called the Tempe Police Department, who in turn put me on to Buckeye because that was the last place he was seen.
Does he live in Tempe?
Yes, he does.
Lives in Tempe. So he was working at a job site outside Buckeye or in Buckeye.
In Buckeye, yes.
From there, I know that the hours go on and there's still no information. And I imagine at that point, the worry starts to set in. When does it become apparent that there's something really wrong here, that he is not answering anybody's calls, texts, nobody knows where he is, enough to have you fly from South Carolina to Arizona?
Well, like I said, after that 6 hours, and we couldn't locate him, I called his mother and told her also what was going on. We called her last because she's a little more emotional than we are. And so we called her and let her know what's going on. Also called a lot of other family members. Of course, everybody's pretty much blowing his phone up. The phone ring and ring, but nobody pick up. That's when we started getting really, really worried. Like I said, I called the Buckeye. I finally got in touch with the Buckeye Police Department. They was very helpful at the beginning, telling us took the information, but told me I had to wait 24 hours before I can do a missing person because he's an adult. When I looked at they told me it's 12 hours before I can put him as a missing person. So I looked at the clock and it was like 3 hours more. It would be that 12-hour thing. So I said, I'll call you back in 3 hours, which I did that, and he took the report. And from that point, he went to ask some of the coworkers what was going on. It's Officer Cruz, see what get some information that way.
Right.
I heard he told me he was riding down Sun Valley Parkway, just kind of ride up and down the road and see if he see anything.
And no one's seeing anything. It was a while until there was any sort of development. And I know at first the question that a lot of people had was, was he having suicidal thoughts? Did he seem unhappy? Was this maybe a way to end his life? And you saw no signs of that. Not
personally, not me. Now, with this asking about the young lady and things like that, he probably was saying some things like, make it sound like he probably pretty much had something on his mind. And from what I understand, because of our conversation, I would think that's what it was. But not something depressing or...
Sure,
right.
Nothing that would lead you to believe that he was in a bad place mentally.
Exactly.
According to the latest police report from Buckeye PD, on the job site that day, a coworker named Ken told Buckeye PD that Daniel was saying things that didn't make sense, that were unlike him. He kept asking Ken if he wanted to go rest, then asked if he wanted to go rest in Phoenix. Ken said Daniel was there for about 15 minutes, then suddenly left. According to the police report, it was enough for Ken to tell his project manager about Daniel's odd behavior. The next thing Ken heard, Daniel was missing and had not responded to calls or texts from work or from his family. According to the police report, prior to going missing, Daniel had pictures on his Instagram account. But when his dad checked his Instagram after he went missing, it appeared all of Daniel's posts had been deleted. Nobody knows why. From here, there's this weird standstill, right? I mean, searches start, but they're not finding anything. And you organized searches too yourself, correct?
Yes.
What did those entail? Who was part of those? And what did that look like out there?
Well, the searches come from, of course, like I said, I talked to the Buckeye Police Department that night. There's out there, riding up and down Sun Valley Parkway. I asked them to next morning to go out and search the desert. My son could be hurt, injured, or something going on. Of course, they didn't do that. On the second day, they told me they was going to have somebody go out there. A helicopter, it was the Phoenix Firebirds,
right,
to go out. Then they canceled that flight. For the third day, I have an auntie that called from Philly, and in turn had them to, I don't know how she did it, but she convinced them to put a Firebird out there and look. And so the first search was on the third day. That was too slow for me. That first day, that next morning, I got up and I was asking them, get update, which it was good. They was good at giving me updates all night. I really didn't get any sleep because they calling me back to back,
Sure.
Telling me what they did and what they're doing. I appreciate that. But when they couldn't get someone to go out in the desert itself and go look for my son, that was problematic. So my first instinct is I'm helpless. I'm sitting here in South Carolina, thousands of miles away. My first instinct is grab what I grabbed and jumped in my vehicle and I literally drove here.
You drove from South Carolina?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Wow. No hesitation.
No
Got
hesitation.
here as fast as you could, and that's quite literally across the entire country. And, you make a good point, too, looking in the desert. I guess for people who are listening to this who don't know what Buckeye is like, it is outside of Phoenix, but it's not the bustling city. It is
Right.
very rural. There's a lot of rural areas out there with not a lot of development. It's a great place for geology, frankly.
Right.
Lots of rocks, lots of desert out there. So there's a lot of space to search.
Exactly.
Where he could be. When does that next massive update come where his Jeep is found? Because I think when that happened, and kind of explain from your perspective, when you got that news, what the Jeep looked like, because that was a huge development in this case.
Yes. I want to put out, though, that once I got here, of course, I found out where Sun Valley Parkway was. That's one of the biggest things. I did want to get to that well site, the last place my son was last seen. I used to go out there every day with my binoculars, kind of look out there. Everything looked kind of flat. It's deceiving, but from the road. But I tried to find a way to get out there. So that's when I decided to do my searches. That's the only way I can think of. Buckeye didn't want to go out there and search anymore, so I had to do something. And then I was able to put search together with volunteers. Now, during our search time, I did remember Buckeye did do one search prior to that, and that was with the it's a group of folks. I can't think of the name. Silver Air Patrol. That's what it was. Silver Air Patrol.
Yeah.
Went out there, and once they did that search, like I said, it was in the area when I was just beginning my search, and then the vehicle showed up. Almost a month later. So
It was about a month, and just to set it up,
right.
It's his blue Jeep. It's rolled over, kind of down this ravine area, crashed. Belongings are there. Clearly, it looks like there was some kind of accident or crash that happened. Did you physically see the car out there?
No. The first alert I had from the vehicle was on the 20th. Of
July?
That's right. The vehicle was discovered on the 19th. Buckeye called me on the 20th at 9 a.m. in the morning to alert me.
What was your reaction?
I was afraid. I was afraid that I was going to hear some bad news. When he told me about the vehicle, that he found the vehicle. That's how he put it, pretty much. And he wanted me to come up to the station to brief me. And of course, I'm getting dressed as fast as I can, but I was preparing myself for hearing something else. Yes.
But they didn't find Daniel.
No.
When they found that car. Now, a lot of his belongings were there, correct?
That's right.
What did they find in the car and at that crash site?
Well, the crash site, what I was told, he showed me with a picture that he had in his hand. The clothing were 3 feet away from the vehicle in a pile. Everything from his clothing, his underwear to socks, everything was off in that pile. One boot is pretty much under the vehicle, and the other one's near the clothing. His safety vest was like one foot away from the rest of the items.
Was his cell phone there?
His cell phone, they said they recovered his cell phone inside the vehicle. They recovered a work laptop, and his wallet was in his pocket, pants pocket, and I think the keys, I'm not sure where the vehicle keys were, but they recovered that also.
I mean, that it's so odd.
Yes.
All of his stuff's there, his clothes, his phone, his wallet, everything that he would have had with him is inside or outside the car. The car is crashed, but he's not there. Right. When you found that out, what were you thinking?
That's strange. My daughter, his siblings, we talked. Their generation, a little bit of my generation also, who lives without their cell phone, for one thing.
Yeah.
We could imagine if he was in an accident, that would be one of the first things he grabbed. And being that we was calling back to back and the phone was ringing, it definitely was ringing. And then eventually, of course, I guess soon the battery died after so many hours, go straight to voicemail. So that was one of the things that we thought was strange. Of course, the clothing sitting outside the vehicle, that was totally strange. No sign of them. So that's all of that is problematic for us.
According to the police report, as detectives collected all these belongings from the scene and began searching the area with cadaver dogs, they did come across one mountain lion, but did not find any evidence that indicated Daniel had been attacked or had come in contact with the animal. It's hard to think how, if he was in an accident, how he got from there to somewhere else. And searches continued, and this was in July, and now we're in the end of September, and there's still been no signs of him. And I know you've been out there with volunteers working on this. Where do you stand now on what you believe happened to Daniel?
Well, that's a hard thing. I don't know what happened to my son. One thing I do know that didn't happen to my son, I know he didn't wreck his vehicle. I know he didn't shred his clothes off. I know he didn't walk in the desert naked. I know he didn't go join a monastery and became a monk. Those things I do know.
So you think somebody else was responsible for
yes, I really
crash do. and other parts of this?
I have suspicions so, yes.
Any ideas if that was somebody or somebody could have been involved that Daniel knew?
I really wouldn't know that.
The searches continue. I know you've still had volunteers. And there's been some media attention on Daniel's case, however, more now. I want to talk about that a little bit with you. Gabby Petito's case really shined a light on more missing persons cases, but there's been a pretty collective focus on the fact that while Gabby's case gained national attention so quickly, others have fallen through the cracks. A lot of Native American women have gone missing. Daniel's African American. Do you think that played a part in almost a lack of media attention at first that should have been there from the start? Or do you feel that his case has gotten the justice it needs to have from start to now?
I definitely know it didn't get the justice it needed from start to now. That's one thing for sure. I guess because of my mindset, I didn't really understand fully what was going on when you try hard for 3 months to try to get attention. When you're not getting it from the police department the way you need to have it done, the urgency. Just like Daniel, I'm a go-getter. He probably got that from me. And my goal is to go find my son. And if it takes doing it myself, that's what I do. God bless that I had tons of people from the community. I call them my extended family now. We work tirelessly out there in the desert from sunrise to whatever time we get tired out there, and they stuck with me the whole time. Every search we have, they're out there. We work tirelessly. We find human remains. I know Buckeye Police Department call them animal bones now. We found skull out there. We found clothing in similar fashion. My son's clothes was found. People don't talk about that much, but we found a lot of things out there. We did some real policing work, but we were all civilians. And so when it came to getting national attention, like I said, it came to a point with that when searching wasn't enough, and we're not getting anything from movement from the police department. That's when I knew I needed to get the media involved. I needed to get some kind of media attention at the time.
You mean a Twitter page?
Anything.
I was
trying everything.
Get his name out there. You mentioned the bones, and we should mention that as well here. There were bones found at first believed to be human remains.
Yes.
Buckeye has now said they do not belong to Daniel.
Right.
That's pretty recent information, just came out last week, I believe.
Yes.
And then there were other bones that people were talking about. Those were deemed animal bones. So neither one were related to Daniel.
That's right.
The clothes, I haven't heard that before. Can you talk about the other clothes you found?
Right. Well, we searched the area closer to, we started off searching the area closer to Daniel where he was last seen. Near the well site. That was our main focus. But then after the vehicle showed up, we expanded that search beyond the vehicle and included all that together. After a few weeks, I think within our 5th or 6th week, we're out searching. A little before our last search, we're near the well site there, and we found some clothing. It's strange. It's sitting there, same manner, underwear, everything in a pile, appearing the same as that way supposedly my son's clothing was found.
Weird. Right.
So we report that to the Buckeye Police Department. Also, we took pictures. We had volunteer aircraft to take pictures from above. My investigator Jeff McGrath did his investigative work, and we turned all that stuff over to the Buckeye Police Department. But we don't know anything else from that point.
You don't know whose clothes those are?
No, I knew it wasn't my son because the pant size was too large. So I know it was happened to belong to someone else.
I know Daniel's missing a hand, but what other physical characteristics does he have so that people know what to look for if they think they see Daniel or come across his whereabouts?
Well, he's light in complexion. He's about 5'8". He'll argue me 5'8", 5'9", and he's around 155 pounds, slender, and sometimes he like to grow his hair a lot. So he cut it down. Last I've seen him, he cut it all the way down, but he also like to let it grow. So.
Big smile?
Very big smile. Yes.
What happens now? Where do we go from here? It's been several months now. We don't know where Daniel is. What happens next in this search? And how can people help?
Well, I suspended the searches for a while. It's been suspended, just for temporarily until I can get some more information from my investigator, where the best place to look. For a while, and there's a big interest now because of everything that's going on. I'm getting an influx of people who want to go out and volunteer, and so I'm thinking about opening that back up. So search some areas that we weren't able to get to, and for right now, for me personally, is to keep the pressure on Buckeye, the police department, which I'm hearing they're starting to do things now after. They're getting a lot of attention on them.
Pressure.
Right. And, which is good for me, personally, because that means somebody's working to see try to get my son for me. I was running out of resources. So of course, I was getting really desperate. And my goal is to be here until I find my son. And that was, being challenged. So it's time for the Buckeye to stand up and do their job.
You've started a GoFundMe page as well.
Yes.
For this reason, because you have to stay across country. You've helped use that money to hire a private investigator or get flyers out there and things like that. What's that GoFundMe called so people can go to it?
Please help find Daniel, with an exclamation point on the end. And that definitely was a lifeline. We've been here for 3 months trying to find my son, and that's not easy. Still taking care of things at home. I didn't move or anything like that, so still had to take care of a lot of things at home.
Across the United States.
Yes.
Sitting here, you're so well spoken, and you're able to take me through this story, but I truly can't imagine the pain that
yes.
a father as close to his son as you are is feeling, with just no answers and so much confusion as to what's been found and no sign of Daniel. Can you walk me through the emotional toll this has taken and how you stay strong through this whole ordeal?
First of all, I know it's God to keep me strong. One thing, though, I'm not a crying man. I'm not that type. I'm military. I'm a professional soldier, but I'm retired now. And some of that I lean on in my training. When I first got here, on the way here, my thought was to treat this like a mission. Put the mission first. That means put your feelings aside, your emotions aside, and go find your son. And that's helped me as a source of strength. I am human. I have my moments, but those moments are to myself. And I talk to myself and to God, and God knows those pains gets really hard a lot of times. Sometimes you feel like your body can't take but so much, but you got to remind yourself to keep going.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. Do you believe that Daniel is still alive wherever he is?
Yes. I'm not going to ever concede, that he's not. So in my mind, yes.
If he somehow hears this podcast, or he's out there, or this gets to him, speaking directly to your son, what do you want to say right now?
Well, Daniel, he knows his dad. He know who I am. I'm gonna go get it just like he is, and I'm looking for him, and I love him. His family love him. He know his mother love him. His mother's at home now suffering, and his mother love him. His family love him, and I know he love us back. So. It's an expression of love to him. We're out here looking for him. We're not giving up on him. And we want him back home with us.
If you have any information on Daniel's disappearance or whereabouts, please call the Buckeye Police Department at 623-349-6400. Season 2 of the True Crime Arizona podcast, The Zombie Hunter, is coming soon. True Crime Arizona, the podcast, is hosted by me, Briana Whitney, and produced by Sergio Hernandez. This episode was edited by Brad Denny. It's a production of Arizona's Family, 3TV, CBS 5, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.